Let's get in the defensive storylines because you've got a new secondary coach. You've got a new D-line coach for Nebraska, and Terry Braden and Addison Williams. You've got a new special teams coordinator with the defensive background as well, Mike Eckler, and you've got a new defensive play caller in John Butler, who took over for the bowl game. So there is a lot there.
New outside
linebackers coach Phil Simpson, who makes his return back to Nebraska after leaving for a year. But I love the back seven. I think they've got lots of options there, both linebacker and the secondary. I love what they've done with some of the transfer additions, but we still don't really know if they have the beef up front to last a 12-game schedule.
So it's incumbent on these veteran players that they really take a step forward. So you're talking about Elijah Judy, Cam Lenhart. That's who tops the list. Lenhart's a junior now, guys. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time. And Lenhart's got to look at it like, look what we lost. We can't take a step back. Judy's got to be that way too. We lost Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher and Jamari Butler, the starting front three. So I think there's a lot on those guys' shoulders, along with Riley Van Poppel. And then the name that's exciting to people in the program, I think, is Keona Davis. Those are the guys right there. Now they need supplements. That's not enough. They need supplements.
What do you think Jalen George factors into this?
Sean?
Because, I mean, he's one of the oldest guys in that room now.
He is.
He's junior. Only been here a few months, but I mean, he's got the experience factor in a room that doesn't have a lot of experience.
We'll hear from Matt Rule on that, but I'm curious his health, like, where he's at in his first winter and kind of if he's ready to go. But early reports from John Butler were great. Like his effort level is moving around.
What do you hear about his health?
I don't want to get into it because I don't know, but somebody at least messaged us that he might have got dinged up in winter workouts. Unconfirmed, so I'm not going to report it or say I didn't put in. But that's you wonder where he's at. But I know early on the defensive line there was good reports about Jalen George.
Can't have this conversation without mentioning Williams Ranieri. You hope that he becomes
a starter,
a starter, and maybe a guy that gets you 9 sacks.
Yeah.
You guys saw him at St. Michael's. He's very impressive physically. Just exactly what I thought he'd look like. A larger Randy Gregory. Now, I'm not comparing him to Randy Gregory, but he looks like a larger Randy Gregory.
Is his buy-in level there, though? That's the question. Can you get him to believe and to buy in and play to the standard?
You don't know. Sean mentioned in a previous show, David Hufkin is in the 300-pound range.
Hello.
Now. That's a hello.
Hufkin.
It's a big man.
That's a hello. It is. He looked good at 255. I don't even know what I think about.
I still think he could move to O-line. I feel like that fits his traits better.
Sean, they need him in defensive line.
They need him at O-line too for the future. But he redshirted, so he's got 4 more years, and he's already a grown man.
So you're looking for somebody that can supplement those guys I mentioned, Mason Goldman, Sua Lefatu, those type of guys. Can somebody ready?
Yep. The reality is every guy that we've mentioned, Nebraska's counting on taking a jump. Like there's no established, we know what this guy is. We've seen, bits and pieces of Judy and Lenhart and even Van Poppel and Davis to an extent, but none of them are like established. Like we know what we're getting out of this guy every single game because they haven't done it. And so that is, to me, the biggest concern. Like you can make a case for 10 guys in that defensive line room as guys that could be factors or could make a massive jump this offseason. But until we actually see it, defensive line will be as big of a concern, if not the biggest concern on this entire roster, in my opinion.
Gabe Moore is a wild card too, by the way.
What's that?
Gabe Moore.
Right. The Mississippi State
transfer. Can he get in the rotation? I'm not saying he's a starter, but can they get 10 snaps a game from him?
No, Robin, I think is right. It's in my mind, it's the biggest question mark. Sean, I think you're right when you say you like the stock of players at the linebacker and defensive back.
There's a ton of potential. It's just hasn't been realized yet.
Right. The defensive back room is interesting. Damn it.
Cha-ching.
It's a compelling conversation because those guys struggled a bit last year, but a lot of them are back. mean, you got Singleton back. You almost have to remind yourself Deshaun Singleton's back is a big, strong NFL type safety.
Sierra Wright had
Sierra Wright.
great moments. Now, who's the other corner though?
Good question.
I
Unclear.
can't see it being Hartzog right now.
What Marquise Buford?
Safety.
Oh, are we putting him at safety still?
I still think there's an opportunity for one of the newcomers, Andrew Marshall or Jameer Khan, to push for the corner job.
Okay.
Or Donovan Jones. Donovan Jones too. I mean, go back to the bowl game.
How about Bly Hill?
Bly Hill. Who played corner in the bowl game?
Donovan Jones
And Sierra Wright. So,
Jeremiah Charles was in the corner rotation last year.
They have guys.
I'm locked into the defensive back competition because of the returning established starters that are back and the veteran presence they have at the top of that depth chart. But then all of these young guys that we just mentioned, that Caleb Benning, Donovan Jones, Amari Sanders, you just go down the list.
Oh yeah.
Jeremiah Charles, Bly Hill. Like there's so many young players that like you could see, just like the defensive line, all those young guys making a case over the course of the spring, through the summer and into fall camp to put themselves firmly in that conversation, to where some of these like kind of guys are penciling in, like the returning starters from last year, they're going to have to earn those spots.
Right.
Like, nothing will be given to those guys despite the experience that they're bringing to the table.
It's like they're kind of trying to stiff arm those young guys. It's still our secondary.
And that's good. You need as much of that as possible.
Hartzog, Buford, Singleton. Those guys are saying, no, it's still us.
Yep.
But those young guys are saying, no.
Nope, it's our turn.
Right. So, yeah, that's exactly what you want if you're John Butler.
There's that secondary though. Addison Williams even commented how many bodies he has back there.
He likes it.
I mean,
It's a big list.
like there's more people in the secondary at Nebraska than on the men's and women's basketball teams at Nebraska combined.
That's wild. Is that true? I also thought
It was 28.
I thought it was notable too that
It was 28 DBs.
The one factor that Addison Williams mentioned about his group was speed. Like, he hadn't spent a lot of time with them. He's still getting to know them and kind of what they can and can't do. But the initial first impression that group gave him was the speed of that unit, which I don't know if people always associate that with Nebraska secondary.
Length and speed. He got their catapult numbers and he liked them. Then now the linebacker position, it's not quite as stocked with returners. It's not as stocked with returners, but there's a lot of promise there. Probably starts, I would say, I mean, if you're talking about returners with Javin Wright, right?
Yep.
Javin Wright is a grown man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably 24 years old, 23 years old, right? In that range.
Well, and Singleton's a grown man.
Yeah. Now we're talking linebackers now. You saw McCullough walk in to the St. Michael's night. Deshaun McCullough, the transfer. I mean, he looks like a basketball player. I mean, he's 6'5", 6'5"
in the 240s.
He'll be in that rush end equation too. He'll have his hand in the dirt.
Oh, they're going to ask him to affect the quarterback.
Yep.
They're going to move him around. It sounds like. I think you would say he's a jack who will move.
Right.
They'll move him around.
Right.